So, welcome to day 9 of New Year Nourished You. And today we are talking about loving connections. And you may be thinking to yourself, what has loving connections got to do with living our healthiest and happiest life? And I will let you know it has a lot to do with our health and, of course, with our happiness. As humans, we are not designed to be individual solo kind of creatures. We were born to be in tribes, to be in community, to kind of have that village mentality where we support each other, share the load, and socialize. Like that's a big part of what we do as humans. And yes, we're all going to have different preferences when it comes to whether we're more introverted or extroverted, and whether we do need more time alone or we do need more time in groups. And this again comes back to finding what you need. But ultimately, there's a reason that self-isolation in prison is like one of the greatest forms of punishment, right? It's not good for our health or our happiness. So when we want to really look at our health from this holistic lens, we also want to take a look at the loving connections or the connections in general that we have around us, and aim to cultivate really loving connections that are really supportive, both for us and that we're really supportive to them, so that we have people in our corner and that we're in other people's corners, and that we know we don't have to do this alone, that we know we get to do it alongside people. And it is a lot more fun and fulfilling when we've got those beautiful connections to share things with as well, right? It's one thing doing things for ourselves and on our own, and yes, there's time and places for that, but then there's a different kind of flavor that you get from doing things with others. And it's beautiful to have that opportunity or the option to do whichever one feels most in alignment at that time. But if we were doing just everything by ourselves all the time, that would be quite isolating and lonely. So it's really important to have these people in your corner and these beautiful connections around you that you also can welcome into your life and enjoy this experience and get the most fulfillment with. Now, when it comes to loving connections and health, I feel like one of the first things I want to speak about is whether or not people are supportive. And good morning, Sahej. It's great to have you here. So it's really important to have people on your side and really cheering you on when you are making these changes. And this can be difficult because some people might think, oh, why are you eating this new way? Like, why don't you just have fun, let loose? Like that we kind of get all of these kind of projections and different forms of languaging placed upon us. And this isn't everyone. Some people are super supportive. Some people don't understand why we're focusing on our health. Some people, it triggers them a little bit because they know that it's something that would really benefit and support them too, but they're not quite ready to do that yet. So instead, they end up judging. And remembering what I said about judgment the other day, it is ultimately just something that we're not allowing ourselves to do. So turning that around, if people are judging you for your choices or for going after your health goals, that's their own stuff. It's just a mirror. So not taking it personally. But when we can really have people there on our side and cheering us on, if we're going along to Christmas gatherings, let's say it's just been Christmas and people are like, oh, why aren't you drinking? Or why are you eating this way? Or, oh, that's some interesting lifestyle choices you're making. Whatever comments kind of come our way, that can feel really like, oh, like depending how solid we are in ourselves, in our choices, in being able to back what we're doing, ultimately, it can feel quite edgy. And I know back when I started my health journey and people didn't quite understand it, or even these days as I continue on it, I still get some funny comments and things, but now I kind of take it in my stride and it doesn't impact me anymore because I'm not judging that within myself. And therefore, if other people, even if they're judging me for it, it doesn't impact me because it's not an insecurity. It's not touching on any kind of wound. So when we can kind of get people on our side and have them really supporting us and cheering us on, or if they're wanting to judge our things, just asking them not to make comments on it. And it's like, hey, this is something that's really important for me. I'd really love your support. If you don't feel able to do that, I'd prefer we talk about something else. And just learning to communicate and to also set boundaries when necessary. And you will find some people respond so well. They'll be so excited that you're wanting to really like look after yourself and feel as amazing as you deserve to feel. And they'll be cheering you on. And they're the kind of people we want in our corner. They're the kind of people we can bring along for the ride as well, right? And using accountability is one of the best things we can do when it comes to habit creation and changing our behavior. You will have seen just from these 9 days so far, we're on day 9, the accountability that comes from this sort of group environment and having people cheering you on and working with you. You can do things that you might have been putting off for a while, or things you might not have thought you were able to do, or yeah, just new things and have that kind of momentum carried. So this goes for in your own life too. If you can have people around you who are also walking the same path and want to be involved, and you can go do some movement classes together, or go for walks together, or cook a nice meal at each other's places on the weekend, maybe like go for your market shop together on the weekends. This can all make it more enjoyable, more enticing. You're more likely to want to do the things, right? We want to make these behaviors really appealing to help ourselves stick to them and help ourselves be incentivized to do them, especially when we are building those habits. So having that accountability from loved ones can be really supportive. So if there is anyone else who's interested in doing these kinds of things, use that to your advantage and ask them, hey, would you be interested in going for a walk together? Or, hey, I was checking out this Pilates class. Do you want to go together? Or, hey, there's this farmer's market on this weekend. I'd love to go. Maybe we can grab breakfast and get our groceries, and we can chat about what we're meal prepping and planning for the week. So really bringing people in on this, and also getting people to kind of like think about how they're showing up for themselves too. And like, let's say we're going along to an event and we know there's going to be certain things available to us. Can we start to curate what's available at these events so more of us are bringing along real food things that are supporting our health, and there's less of a focus on like the desserts and the sweets and the refined foods or the packaged foods, and we're kind of getting excited together about really fueling our bodies and fueling each other by bringing along healthier things or making these choices that are going to support all of our health ultimately. So really starting to be the example in your life, right? This starts with us, for us, but it actually ripples out massively. And sometimes it takes a while for others to catch on and for others to say, oh, cool, like I can actually do similar things and feel amazing. I didn't know I was designed to feel this good because this is what I've been used to and this is just how it's always been. But you can actually be that example. And you might have people in your life that are that example for you, where they're really like nurturing and nourishing themselves in multiple ways and focusing on their health. And that maybe that inspires you. And you've seen that as like, oh, okay, maybe I can try some things like this too. So seeing that it goes both ways and that you get to be that example, whether it's just for yourself, for your partner, for your family, if you've got children, for your extended family, like your parents, your siblings, whoever you have around you, or even your friends, whoever it is, this can be a real gift, not just for you, but also for them, seeing what's possible for them too. And ultimately, our health is one of the most important things we have in life. Without our health, it's really difficult to have other things, which is why I always say that health should be our number one priority, because it's not until we get sick that we realize how important our health was. When we're feeling sick, we're unwell, we're stuck in bed, and we have no energy to do anything. We're like, oh, wow, none of the other stuff kind of mattered because right now I don't have my health and I can't actually do or enjoy any of the other stuff. So it's such a gift to ourselves to really focus on our health, and it's such a gift on those around us to show them what's possible and to get them on the journey with you and walk the path with each other. And when it comes to loving connections, there's this saying by Jim Rohn that I love, and you've probably heard it before. It's a very popular saying. We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time around. And I think I may have even mentioned it in this training before. I can't remember, but I love this saying, and it's so true because you can see based on who you hang out with, and you can reflect over your life and see, okay, who were the people I was spending the most time with? Who were my friends at that time? You can see how your behavior is kind of formulated based on the people you're spending time around. I see that when I look back at my party days and things, and I was hanging out with other people that love to party, and then I transitioned more into health and I was hanging out with more people that really prioritize health, and I saw myself kind of grow in that area. So we can kind of see that how the people around us do influence our behavior. And it comes back to us being those tribal beings and what I was saying the other day about us wanting to belong and not get kicked out of the tribe. So there's a part of us that's designed to kind of like mold to our surroundings and take on behaviors from those around us so that we are accepted. And obviously, the more we get to know ourselves and the more we value ourselves and love ourselves, we can kind of stand on our own and be like, hey, I don't have to be like everyone else. I can be me, shine my light, and I'll attract in the people that love that about me. But there is that element where we're always going to be influenced by those around us or by what we're listening to or who we're learning from or what we're exposed to ultimately. So one of the other reasons it's so important to have those loving connections and people who are really supportive and kind of on similar paths will help us with these goals. It will help us with these behaviors. And this doesn't mean you have to ditch your friends and family if they're currently not on this path or they're not into any of this. That's absolutely not the case, because it's not just the people you spend time with in person, it's also the people you listen to. So by being here and being part of this group and learning from me, you're able to take on what you choose to take on from what I'm teaching. Obviously, you can take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I'm not here to force anything upon you. But things like this, even podcasts you listen to, YouTubers you watch, documentaries you tune into if you like documentaries, even movies and TV shows, like the things we expose ourselves to, it's not just the people we're like spending time with in person, but anytime we're kind of coming across different people, different concepts, different ideas, different stories, these will be able to take on things from that. So being really intentional with our consumption, whatever it is. So when we think of health and we think of food in particular, we think, okay, our diet's what we consume in terms of what we eat. But I actually believe it's what we consume in terms of not just what we eat, that's one part of it, but also what we listen to, what we watch, who we're surrounded by, how we move, how we be, the thoughts we think. All of these things contribute to who we are and contribute to whether or not we're able to actualize our goals and dreams and become those happiest and healthiest versions of ourselves. So really important to start looking around and being like, okay, do I feel like I am consuming information or consuming stuff that's going to be supportive, or could this stuff actually be hindering my growth or hindering my journey? This is like another saying that wants to come through is that if you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And I think I've mentioned this one as well. It's like if you're around people who kind of have that view of like, oh, that's not possible, or, we're not designed to feel that good, or this is just how it is, like just take it or leave it. If we're kind of around more of that limited mindset, we start to get sucked into that and we start to be like, oh, yeah, that's true. Who was I to think so big? Who was I to think there was more? Whereas if we're hanging around people who believe anything is possible and see the beauty in everything and positivity, and they're like, yeah, okay, this happened, but how are we going to move forward from this? And they're kind of like seeing big, dreaming big, know that anything is possible, we're going to buy into that mentality too. And I notice this based on if I have a certain conversation with different types of people, I can see their beliefs projected onto me, and I can see, and it's like, oh, okay, if I talk to this person who has that really expansive, empowered mindset about this thing, I feel like, yes, anything's possible. And I'm like ready to go, and I'm like feeling that determination to make it happen. Whereas if I'm talking to someone that has a bit more of that disempowered mindset, and not to judge them, they're on their own journey. We all go between these mindsets. So there's no right or wrong. Again, it's what we choose and what we desire. But let's say I'm talking to someone with more of that disempowered mindset who is feeling a bit more limited and feeling like, oh, it's like things are hard. Then I talk to them about this idea and they're like, oh yeah, but what about this and this and this? And that's not realistic because this. And they start like projecting all of these limiting beliefs onto me, then I start to be like, oh, wait, is that possible? And this is another reason where it's so important to really have that strength within ourselves so that, yes, we can take on things from others where it feels valuable, but we can ultimately come back to ourselves and be like, hey, you know what? Actually, this feels really true to me, and I'm not going to buy into those limitations. And I'm going to stay really like grounded in reality, and maybe thinking too big too soon. Maybe I need to find something in between and find something that feels most right for me. But just noticing how different people and their mindsets can really impact your outlook and your perspective. Like if someone tells you, let's say to do with a health condition, if someone tells you, oh, you've just got to live with this, you're not going to feel that great, like here's some medication you can take for the rest of your life. And then someone else tells you, okay, I understand that can be really supportive, but have you thought about like shifting this? I've heard of these really amazing results of people who changed their lifestyle and actually were able to feel really vital and thriving, and cases where they were able to come off that medication. And this might not have to be something you have to deal with your entire life. So just seeing even that kind of difference and seeing like, what do you choose and who do you want surrounding you, supporting you and on your team to really help you live your healthiest and happiest life? And the more we can surround ourselves with those people who do support us, who do cheer us on, rather than the people who are judging what we're choosing to do or questioning it or not necessarily supporting it. Like, let's say, going back to that example of going along to an event and trying to encourage more real food things being there. If they're like, nah, you know what, you can just deal with your own thing. I know you're gluten intolerant, or I know you're a vegetarian at the moment, but this is what I was going to make. You just bring something along that you can eat. Like, I'm not saying everyone does that. There would be people that do that though. But what do we want? We want the people that are on our side and they're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I'd love to support what you're doing. And I'd love to experiment with this new recipe that I know you'll be able to eat as well. And that I'm actually excited to try this too. Let's try this together. So getting those people on your side that really are lifting you up rather than pulling you down. And this is where it can be so important to trust the process, because sometimes what happens when we go on this health journey, or we go on a personal development journey, or there's a little bit of all of it in the health journey, ultimately, we can actually see that our friendship groups or the people we spend time around does evolve. And there can be that period of like a little bit of loneliness or isolation in between, when you're kind of in between, where it's like, I don't really feel like I'm fitting in with these people anymore, but I haven't quite found my new tribe. I haven't quite found these new connections that really get who I am now, because we're changing. And so it can kind of require a little bit of patience and a little bit of like extra kindness to yourself when you are going through that transition and finding those new loving connections if the current ones aren't in alignment. And you might also find, and something I've found is like, while my friendship group has changed completely since I began and embarked on this health journey, and it's changed a couple of times, in fact, as I continue to deepen on this path and even go more into like the personal development and mindset worlds and all of that kind of stuff. And what I found along the way is going to events and going to things that you'll find, and you'll meet people who are in alignment. So if running is something that interests you, going along to park run and chatting to some people. There's plenty of events these days, even like different breathwork events are really fun ones to meet people at, or like all the dip kind of ones where you do the cold water dips in the ocean, depending where you live. Here in Melbourne, we have so many like cold water dip events that run, and they're free community events that you can go along to, and you meet awesome people. There's different workouts in parks, and there's gyms you can go to, there's classes you can go to, there's community centers you can go to, and you can find your new tribe there. And you might find, and what I was kind of getting at before, which I got on a different tangent, was you might have a different friendship group, but you might still have those other people there on the periphery, and you still have connections with them. It doesn't mean we're cutting off everyone. It's like, nah, we're not into the same things anymore. This isn't aligned. I've got to go find new friends. That's not the case, because you can still have commonalities. It might just shift in like how often you see them or how much, those kinds of things. But yeah, just seeing what flows and knowing that ultimately you will find your tribe, even if you are in that time of transition or a bit more isolation or loneliness, you will magnetize in those people that are meant for you, and those really loving, supportive connections that are going to be on your side, cheering you on, right there with you, alongside you. So just knowing that wherever you kind of are on your own health journey or your own personal development journey, that can happen and change and evolve. And part of the reason that this does happen is because everything ultimately is energy. And if anyone knows anything about quantum physics, which I love, this kind of like quantum physics and that side of things, everything's energy. Everything has a different frequency. And as we change, our frequency changes. And what happens is we no longer are a match for certain people because our frequencies changed. And if they're staying similar and their frequencies staying here and our frequencies over here now, and notice I'm not doing up and down, I'm doing kind of around, because no one is better or worse. It's all just different. And yes, there's high vibe, low vibe, but let's not like judge people's choices or their frequencies based on that. It's more just like our frequency is different. We've changed the radio channel. So when we want to change music on the radio channel, we change that, it goes to a different channel, we hear different music. It's the same with what happens as we change as people, as we do this inner work. There's a lot of frequency shifting. And what happens is we start to change that channel, and therefore different songs or different people are magnetized in to us. So just starting to notice, and like there's no right or wrong. It doesn't mean that someone else is, oh, they're lower vibe than me, I'm too high vibe to hang out with them. That's not a very like empowering or loving thing to think or say. It's more just like, okay, I've changed, I've shifted. Things within me have shifted, whether it's the beliefs that we've been working on or whether it's just the way we show up for ourselves, our health and how we're feeling. All of this kind of impacts our frequency, and therefore it will impact the kind of people that we attract and magnetize into our life. So Hedge said that I found when I started changing my life and changing my mindset, I lost a lot of friends. Yeah, I feel you there. I've accepted the friends I've lost, but I am now left with very few people around me. Sometimes it does get lonely. Thank you so much for the suggestions of how we can make new friends. You are so welcome. And I completely get it because I've been through that as well. And it can feel really like, oh, am I doing something wrong? Because like the people that were close to me, I'm not really close to them anymore. And I'm feeling really different and a bit like an outcast. And it can like make us question ourselves. And again, this is why it's so important to come back to that compassion, that self-love, and like that building of our own inner self-worth and value, because you are going to magnetize some incredible people into your life. And I know you've got beautiful Izzy as one example. And there'll be other people coming as well. And hopefully those kinds of events that I've suggested support too. Because yeah, it does make a difference to our mental health as well. When we have like people around us in our corner, people we can turn to, people we can talk to, that massively can impact our mental health and how we feel. And obviously mental health is a part of our overall health. Like when I went through that embodied health model, and yes, there's physical health, which is like our healthy habits, how we feel, how we look. Then there's the mental health, and that's how we feel and like our mental state, our mindset. And of course, there's the emotional health. And this kind of loving connection one plays into all of them, because who we spend time around can impact how we fuel our body, how we move our body, certain like behaviors that we choose to do. So it's impacting our physical health. It impacts our mental health based on if they're loving and supportive friends, will more likely feel better and like have that more sense of stability and happiness and all of that. Whereas if we have really like friends who are kind of tearing us down or a bit like bitchy, or there's always drama, that's not going to be good for our mental health. That's going to be quite stressful. And we know how detrimental stress is for our health. So we really want, another reason we really want these loving connections is to help with the stress levels. Like nobody needs the drama. If we want to tune into some drama, we can tune into a reality TV show and then we can put that right off, because then we don't have to deal with it, right? So we don't want that kind of drama around us though. We want people who are really like open and communicative and supportive. And this is where developing our communication skills will be really important too, because we do need to be able to have conversations about things that might be upsetting us, or things that are important to us, or boundaries that we need to be put in place. And this is why, even though majority of what I teach is around health, I also teach things around boundaries and communication skills, because there are times where we do need to be able to call upon these, and that actually really impacts our health as well. And then when it comes to the emotional health and friends, similar sort of thing with what I was saying around the mental health and the stress. If friendship group is full of drama and there's always some sort of conflict, that's going to take its toll on us emotionally as well. And there's going to be a lot of like emotional dysregulation, just like there'll be the nervous system dysregulation. So when we can flip that and we can find those really loving, supportive connections and feel really held and nurtured, and even be able to go to people with things that are upsetting us and feel safe and comfortable to express the full spectrum of emotions around them, and know that we'll be loved and supported and held through that, that's a real game changer. So as you can see, many reasons that we want to really move towards having those loving connections. Grateful for Izzy. Yeah, she's awesome. So yeah, to summarize, one of the big reasons we want loving connections around us is that quote by Jim Rohn, we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time around. So the more we can have those loving, supportive people around us, the more we are going to feel that towards ourselves. And it's a bonus if they are into health and wellness and personal development and this inner work, because it makes it easier to do. It gives us people that we can walk this path with. So that's a bonus. It's not an essential. Ultimately, the necessity is that they are loving, kind, and of course, this will also change based on you and what you look for in friends, and even just tuning in and being like, okay, what do I actually want in my friends, and what are some qualities? How do I want to feel when I'm around the people that I enjoy and love to be around? Like, what kind of things am I looking for there, and tuning into what that looks like for you. So that's one big part, because we become like the people we surround ourselves with. And then in terms of like the support and the feeling really held through all of this because we don't have to do it alone. So that can really benefit our health as well, knowing that we've got those people to lean on, knowing that we've got people to enjoy this journey with. And like I've kind of said a couple of times, if it's not the people in your immediate circle right now, turn to people externally, turn to things like this container, like this challenge, like different coaches, mentors, podcasters, YouTubers, whoever it is. If you don't necessarily have that within your circle right now, you can get it from external. And I would even say, even if you're getting it from inside your circle, it can be beneficial to have it externally too. Like I have some beautiful, loving connections in my life, yet I still turn to amazing thought leaders and podcasters, and I'm on YouTube watching really inspiring things. And the people I follow on social media are people that really uplift and inspire me. So I still would say like it is beneficial to have both, like in your inner world and that outer kind of like external world, and like who you're consuming from. And yeah, it all just like adds up, it all benefits, and it will all help you become that version of you that you are working towards, while, so important, loving yourself where you are along the way. Because I do see a lot of stuff where it's like, you've got to be the best version of yourself. This current version of yourself's not that good, essentially. It's kind of like the core message. And it's like, actually, no, the current version of you is freaking amazing. And as you continue to evolve, as you continue to grow, you're just going to be amazing in different ways. And you're going to feel more fulfilled and more calm and grounded and loved and loving and healthy and all of these things. And yes, that version of you is going to be awesome too, but doesn't mean this version of you isn't already amazing. And the more we start to love ourselves where we are, the more we naturally transform and evolve into that version that we're seeking or told we should want to seek as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about loving connections. And your action step today is to do a little bit of an audit of who is around you. So this can be like a little social media audit. Who are you following? Do they feel like they are inspiring, uplifting you? Or do they feel like, oh, you know, like when I'm on their profile, I'm just kind of feeling bad about myself, or I'm comparing myself, or I'm feeling judgment from some of the things they say, or whatever it is. Just seeing like, who are you following on social media? What emails are you subscribed to? What podcasts are you subscribed to? What kind of music are you listening to as well? Like what TV shows? Just doing a little bit of an audit of like what's surrounding you, what you're consuming. And if you want to kind of like, I feel like I want 2 action steps today, but my rule is 1 simple action step every day. You know what? We're going to scrap that other action step. You can do that as a bonus. That's a bonus action step if you want to do a little bit of an audit of who you're following, who you're listening to. But your 1 action step is going to be to send a message to someone that's really important to you. So it can just be a cute little message like, hey, was thinking of you, thought I'd shoot you a message, hope you're having a beautiful day. It can be a really heartfelt, deep message where it's like, hey, I was just tuning in to someone that really means a lot to me and you came to mind, and I really just wanted to tell you how much I love you and how grateful I am to have you in my life. It can be anything you choose, but just send 1 message to one of your loving connections or someone that you're grateful for, and let them know that you're thinking of them. Because how good is it when we receive those messages, or how nice is it when it's like, oh, that person was thinking of me, or oh, that person expressed gratitude, or that can feel so nice and can really make our day. So let's go out and make someone else's day today. And that always comes back. When it comes to the laws of the universe, there is that law of circulation. So anything that we give out, we get back. So if we're giving out this love and appreciation and gratitude, we get it back. It's not why we should do it, because really the receiving is also in the giving. In the giving of that text message or that call, if you want to call someone, we'll receive, and you'll notice that you'll feel so like fulfilled and like you're receiving from that, even though you're giving to someone else. But then it always comes back around as well. It's like that law of circulation. Beautiful. So we're going to wrap it up there today. Tomorrow we have our final day, super important day as well, self-love. It's the foundation for health and happiness, the foundation for us living our most fulfilled, happiest, best lives. And I love the topic of self-love, just as I love all of these topics, as you can tell, can talk for days. So I'll see those of you that can make it live tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I'll see those of you on the replay. But yeah, thank you to those of you that are here with me now. And thank you to those of you tuning in later. This has been such a pleasure. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Bye for now.